This is part 1 iconography, preparing your boards in gesso. Using 60 grade cheesecloth, cut approximately 1 inch around your board. These are some of the items you will need. Obviously, you can use substitutes if you don't have these items at home. Lay flat your cheesecloth and lightly spray it. Heat your iron on the linen setting. Iron it so it's nice and flat. It should have no wrinkles like this. Take your knife and make marks approximately 1 inch apart and diagonal on your board. This will help the glue and cloth adhere better to the board. Let's make the glue. The formula is 10 grams of rabbit skin glue to 100 milliliters of water. I doubled the recipe today since I have about 5 boards to make, so it's 20 grams of rabbit skin glue and 200 mils of water. I let it sit overnight. It will become solid and jelly-like, a little bit like jello. The next day, you use a double boiler or 2 pots. It's really important that you heat it up until it's melted and hot, but do not boil it. So this whole process to melt it down takes approximately 5 to 10 minutes maximum. You have to make sure there's no gel left in it and it's very liquid. So I think it's almost ready now. Yeah, it's ready. So the next step will be to apply a thin coat on the boards. So I like to do many boards at a time since, as you can see, it's a very tedious process. It dries very quickly. So then the next step is to lay down your iron cheesecloth. Make sure it's nice and flat with your hand and very smooth. Remove any little pieces of lint that you can find on it. Ensure to let the mixture stay hot, but do not boil. Cover your cheesecloth with a thin coat of the glue. Don't forget all the 4 edges, and you let that dry overnight once more. She's bored with me. Repeat on all your boards. The next day, it should be dry. You can touch it to make sure it is, and pull it a little bit just to make sure all the edges are all glued up. You remove the excess linen with a very soft stroke of your sandpaper. And look how nice and smooth it is. It's now ready for numerous coats of gesso. I like to now tape the sides with painter's tape. Makes it easier to clean later, trust me. Now we can make the gesso. We will paint with egg tempera, so this is an essential preparation of the board before we start painting. So the formula is enough to make 1 board, 20 grams of rabbit skin glue to 200 milliliters of water. You mix it together and then you let it sit on the counter for about an hour. You take out your calcium carbonate, and then here's the formula to mix the carbonate with the water. After about an hour, you bring back your rabbit skin glue to the double boiler. It should look like that, like jelly. So you put it on top and then you make sure you don't overheat it. You keep it at low heat. You mix it up and then you start adding your calcium carbonate very slowly, because it just gets too thick if you put it all at the same time. It should take about 10 minutes to do this part. Once it's ready, it'll look more like milk almost, or sour cream a little bit, and then you strain it in a bowl to remove the extra chunks from it. You can then start using this formula. Take a screenshot of this for the layers. So here's a demo of a few layers. The first layer, you have to do it horizontally and make sure you keep your mixture warm, because that'll get dry really quickly. Okay, so you put your layer nice and thinly on a horizontal format. So that's layer 1. When it comes down to layer 2, first of all, you have to let everything dry. So don't worry, the holes will show through even after layer 1 or 2. So mixture will have hardened and you have to melt it before you use it. So use about 2 tablespoons for every layer. So then you lay it horizontally. So when you're done about layer 3, you start doing the sandpapering. So let me show you here how to do that. Wet sanding seems to work really well. You spray a small area, then you use the 180 sandpaper sponge and soft circular motion like this. Okay, so you do it very softly. It will create some sludge after a few minutes, and then you keep doing the circular motion until it's very dry. You'll see that your sponge will resist, and you just have to lift it up and keep doing it until it's dry. It's very long, but it's very satisfying to do. So once you're done all the sandpapering, you also sand all the edges very softly so it looks very professional. So at the end, you should have this kind of look. It should be very glossy and hard and almost looks like a mirror. Then you know that it's ready for painting. Please let me know if you have any questions and drop any comments that you'd like to.